Hello, everybody. My name is Lorraine Gallimore. And today I'd like to discuss the topic of deaf education. I myself am currently a teacher, training other teachers who'd like to be involved in the deaf educational program. I am a byproduct of this system. I graduated, went to college, and became a teacher. And as I was looking into the deaf education system, I was shocked at the many shortcomings and problems deeply embedded within the system. And for the past 100 years, this system has not been a good system. The deaf children are still failing. They're struggling to read, to write. They're just struggling in life in general. They're worried about their future and jobs, if they can get one and hold a job down. So I was concerned, and I thought, what could I do to change things around in the deaf educational system? So in 1995, I rolled my sleeves up and got my hands dirty. I looked into the deaf education system and tried to find something that I could improve on, but there were so many problems. So I decided that I needed to narrow it down to one problem that I can solve. And if I couldn't solve it, something that I could improve. In order to find that niche, I thought the best way was to get it from the horse's mouth. So I sat down with deaf individuals who had been through the deaf educational system. I asked them about their experiences, their frustrations, their struggles, what upset them. Because they themselves are the outcome of this situation. And I asked them so that we don't continue to repeat these same mistakes over and over again. But as I asked all the deaf individuals, it was the same old story. Even students who went to school a long time ago, it was still the same situation. Nothing has been new, nothing has been changed. Now bring that to current day, and the students I ask, it's still the same story. Again, nothing has changed. And the biggest problem, the biggest obstacle, is language and communication, which I would like to discuss a little bit more. Language and communication has been a hot topic. It's something that we've never stopped discussing. But it's important to look at the complaints of the deaf individuals. Students would show up to school for the first day, sit down, eager and ready to learn, and then were woefully disappointed. The teachers wouldn't sign. There was no sign at all. All the information was going right over the heads of the deaf students. It wasn't focused on teaching deaf students. It was focused on hearing culture. It was focused on auditory learning, not visual. It was focused on speech and English, which is fine, but it's not how deaf students learn. They would be forced to spend lots of times learning how to speak. And so if you ask deaf students and deaf people, did you enjoy school? Most of them are going to say, no, I didn't enjoy it. And even some will say, no, it was a downright bad experience. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a few students who loved school, but that's mainly because they had really good teachers, really good support, a good environment to learn. But again, that's not the norm. The norm is that deaf students do not like school because there's not equal access. Like I said, nothing has improved in the past 100 years in the deaf educational system. The language and communication problems are the main reason for that. I felt it was my responsibility to train these teachers to improve on the deaf educational program. So in order to do that, I compiled a lot of data from over 60 different college programs. I laid them all out and looked through all the data. And I thought, what do they offer these students that would like to become teachers in this deaf educational program? And I was shocked when I saw that everything was the same. The focus was on speech and auditory learning. Right on down the line I went, and everything was the same. There was no sign requirements, none. Some of them might have a few, but very few had any requirements of ASL. They would arrive at school and learn the sign from the students. I couldn't believe that it wasn't required, and that explained a lot of the attitude and the shortcomings of the students. Deaf are very visual learners, and there was almost no visual learning in the curriculum. So once again, I rolled up my sleeves and decided that we needed to change these curriculums around in order to give these deaf children an opportunity. I'll give you an example. In an English-speaking school, they would never hire someone who didn't know English or wasn't proficient in speaking. Because how could they possibly teach? If someone came from France and wanted to teach an English class, they would refuse to hire them. They would complain. It would never be allowed. But look at the deaf system. That's exactly what happens. The deaf people who did have a positive experience said that it did improve even more when they're in middle school and high school, because they could finally understand. They were given signs so that they could understand what the teacher was saying. The best way for language acquisition is between the ages of 0 and 5 years old. That's the most important time to feed children a new language. Their minds are flexible. They'll be able to pick it up quickly. But if you miss that small window of opportunity from ages 0 to 5, once you hit that 5, the mind slows down as far as language acquisition goes. The window slowly closes. As it goes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, it becomes a struggle. Like, have you ever noticed that if a hearing adults try to learn a new language, it's very hard compared to a young child trying to learn a new language? It's because, like I said again, their mind is flexible. They can retain stuff. But when parents of deaf children have a baby born, there's a grieving period. They're so concerned, they're scared. And by the time they give their child that language access, once they realize ASL is the best option, it's too late. That window is closed. One of the biggest, most important things of the deaf educational program is to give those students language access early on. In Sweden, they have a great program. Once they learn a child is deaf, they have a mentor program that the child is connected with a deaf adult and given language access immediately. So my dream for the future, the 21st century, is that deaf education will improve. Thank you.